My name is Amaya. I'm 35 years old, and last year I discovered my husband had stolen our daughter's college fund to impress his mistress. What happened next still amazes me every time I think about it. My 12-year-old daughter Lily outsmarted him in a way I never could have imagined. She's always been brilliant with numbers, just like her mother. I never thought her math skills would save our family's future. Before I tell you this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments and hit that like and subscribe button if you believe in protecting your children's education at all costs. I met Jackson during my senior year of college when we were both studying business. He was charming, ambitious, and seemed like the perfect partner. After graduation, we both landed jobs in Seattle, him at an investment firm and me as a financial analyst. 2 years later, we were married in a beautiful ceremony overlooking Puget Sound, surrounded by friends and family who believed we were the perfect match. Our daughter Lily was born 3 years into our marriage. From the moment I held her in my arms, I knew I wanted to give her every opportunity in life. Jackson and I agreed that education would be our top priority for her. The night we brought her home from the hospital, we opened her college fund with a $1,000 deposit, promising to add to it monthly. By the time she's 18, she'll be able to attend any university she wants, Jackson said, cradling our newborn daughter. No student loans, no financial stress, just the freedom to learn. As Lily grew, it became clear she had inherited my affinity for numbers. By kindergarten, she was solving math problems meant for third graders. Her teachers suggested advanced placement, and by second grade, she was taking fifth grade math. While other parents proudly displayed artwork on their refrigerators, we had math worksheets with perfect scores and handwritten equations. Jackson and I kept our promise about the college fund. Every month, we each contributed $500. Whenever either of us received a bonus at work, we would put at least 20% into Lily's future. By her 12th birthday, the account had grown to just over $80,000. We were right on track for our goal. Our life in the Seattle suburbs seemed picture perfect. We lived in a 4-bedroom home with a view of Mount Rainier on clear days. Jackson's career at the investment firm was thriving, and I had transitioned to working as an independent financial consultant, specializing in helping women secure their financial futures after divorce. The irony of that specialty would hit me much later. I made it a point to teach Lily about financial literacy from an early age. While most parents gave their kids allowances for chores, we structured Lily's as a lesson in budgeting, saving, and investing. By 10, she understood compound interest and the basics of the stock market. Jackson sometimes teased me about turning our daughter into a mini financial advisor, but he supported my efforts. Knowledge is power, I would tell Lily, especially when it comes to money. Every 3 months, Lily and I would sit down together to review her college fund. I wanted her to see the real impact of consistent saving and compound interest. She loved watching the numbers grow and would calculate how much her fund would be worth by high school graduation if it continued at the same rate. Mum, if we maintain this growth rate and increase contributions by just 3% annually to adjust for inflation, I'll have approximately $170,000 for college, she told me on her 12th birthday after our quarterly review. I remember feeling such pride in that moment. As Lily approached middle school, I began noticing subtle changes in Jackson. He started working later hours and traveling more frequently for business. His wardrobe improved dramatically, with designer suits replacing his old standards. When I mentioned these observations, he attributed everything to career advancement. The firm expects a certain image Amaya, he would say. I'm up for partnership next year. These changes are necessary investments in our future. I wanted to believe him. After 15 years of marriage, trust was the foundation of our relationship. Besides, his higher salary meant larger contributions to our savings and Lily's college fund. What could possibly be wrong with that? Lily had always been close to both of us, but shared a special bond with me over mathematics. We would solve logic puzzles together and play strategy games that enhanced her critical thinking skills. Jackson connected with her through outdoor activities, taking her hiking on weekends and teaching her to ski during winter vacations at Lake Tahoe. Our family unit seemed solid, our financial future secure, and our daughter thriving. I had no idea that everything was about to unravel, starting with a credit card statement that didn't make sense and ending with my 12-year-old daughter teaching us all about the true meaning of education and integrity. Looking back, I realised there were warning signs I chose to ignore. The late-night phone calls he would take in the garage, the business trips that seemed to lack the usual souvenirs or stories, the growing emotional distance between us that I attributed to work stress. I was so focused on raising our daughter and growing my consulting business that I missed what was happening right under my nose. The first undeniable sign of trouble came on an ordinary Tuesday evening. Jackson had been distant for weeks, often snapping at small things that had never bothered him before. When I asked if he wanted to join Lily and me for our monthly pizza and board game night, he claimed he had urgent work to finish. "Can't you two do it without me? I'm swamped with this new client portfolio," he said, without looking up from his laptop. Lily's disappointment was visible, but she quickly masked it. "It's okay, Dad. Maybe next time." Her maturity sometimes broke my heart. Later that night, while paying bills, I noticed unusual charges on our joint credit card statement. A $400 dinner at an upscale restaurant downtown that I hadn't attended, a $700 charge at a high-end jewelry store, and several Uber receipts at odd hours. These weren't business expenses, as Jackson used his corporate card for those. When I asked him about the charges the next morning, his response was defensive. "Are you monitoring my spending now? Those were client meetings. The jewelry was a retirement gift for my boss's assistant." His explanation came too quickly, too rehearsed. I wanted to believe him, but something felt off. 2 days later, my friend Tara called me. "Amaya, I saw Jackson at Canlis yesterday with a woman. They looked close." Her voice was cautious, concerned. My stomach dropped. Canlis was one of Seattle's most romantic restaurants, not a place for business meetings. "Are you sure it was him?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Positive. I almost came over to say hello, but they were holding hands across the table. I didn't want to create an awkward situation." When Jackson came home that night, I confronted him directly. "Who were you with at Canlis yesterday?" His face paled before he composed himself. "A client, Samantha from Suntech Investments. We're trying to secure their portfolio." He loosened his tie, avoiding eye contact. "Do you always hold hands with clients?" I asked quietly. "What? Who told you that? That's ridiculous." He laughed, but it sounded hollow. She got emotional talking about her financial goals. I was being supportive. You know how clients can be. I did know. As a financial consultant, I had comforted many clients, but never by holding their hands across candlelit tables. "I trust you, Jackson," I said, giving him a chance to come clean. "But I need honesty between us." He looked relieved, mistaking my statement for acceptance. "You have it, always." That night, unable to sleep, I checked our online banking accounts. Nothing seemed immediately unusual, but I noticed Jackson had logged in at 2:00 a.m. several times in the past month. What financial matters required attention at that hour? The next morning, I called our bank and added additional security to our accounts, requiring text message verification for any withdrawals over $500. If Jackson was being truthful, this wouldn't affect him at all. That afternoon, I received a text from the bank while teaching a financial workshop. Jackson was attempting to withdraw $2,000 from our joint savings account. I approved it, but made a mental note to ask about it. When questioned that evening, his irritation was immediate. Why am I getting security codes now? I needed that money for a client appreciation event. I upgraded our security after hearing about some online banking fraud, I explained. $2,000 is a lot for a client event. Which clients? You wouldn't know them, he dismissed. Listen, can you remove that verification requirement? It's embarrassing to have transactions declined in front of my colleagues. The transactions aren't declined, just verified, I corrected. Is there a reason you don't want me to know about withdrawals from our joint account? His expression hardened. Are you accusing me of something, Amaya? After everything I've done for this family, this gaslighting technique was new from him, and it sent alarm bells ringing. I decided to call my sister Natalie, who had gone through a difficult divorce years earlier. Start documenting everything, she advised after hearing my concerns, and maybe consult with a lawyer just to understand your options. Isn't that premature? I don't have proof of anything yet, I protested. Better prepared than blindsided, she said. Trust me on this. Meanwhile, Lily had begun to sense the tension. One night she asked me directly, "Is Dad having an affair?" The question stunned me. "What makes you ask that?" I managed to reply. I read about the signs in a psychology article. Dad fits 7 of the 12 indicators. My precocious daughter had been doing her own research. We're just going through a busy period, I lied, trying to protect her. Adult relationships are complicated sometimes. She nodded, unconvinced. I recorded data for a month. His phone usage increases by 87% between 8 and 11 p.m. He receives texts that make him leave the room. And he's changed his phone password 3 times. My daughter, the analyst. I hugged her tightly. Whatever happens, you and I will be okay, I promise. I suggested family therapy, thinking it might help us address the growing issues. Jackson agreed surprisingly easily, but then cancelled or rescheduled each of the first 3 appointments. The final straw came when I was doing laundry and found a receipt in his jacket pocket for a $2,500 bracelet from Tiffany. Our anniversary wasn't for months, and my birthday had just passed, with only a hastily purchased gift card. That night, I couldn't sleep, wondering if everything I thought I knew about my marriage was a lie. Little did I know that the worst discovery was yet to come, involving not just our marriage, but our daughter's future. The day everything fell apart was supposed to be routine. It was time for our quarterly review of Lily's college fund, something we'd done consistently for years. Lily was particularly excited because the last statement had shown significant growth due to some strong market performances. "Mum, can we look at my college account today? I want to recalculate my projections based on the last quarter's returns," Lily asked over breakfast, already dressed for school in her favourite NASA t-shirt and jeans. "Of course, sweetie. We'll do it this afternoon when you get home," I promised, pouring her a glass of orange juice. After dropping Lily at school, I decided to log into the account early to prepare for our review. Jackson and I had equal access, though I typically managed the regular contributions while he handled the investment allocations. When I entered our password and the account loaded, I stared at the screen in disbelief. The balance read $5,073.42. That couldn't be right. Just 3 months ago, we had over $80,000 in the account. I refreshed the page, thinking it must be a glitch. The same number appeared. My hands began to shake as I clicked on the transaction history. A series of large withdrawals had been made over the previous 3 months. $25,000, then $30,000, and finally $20,000. Each withdrawal had been authorized by Jackson. The room seemed to spin. I couldn't breathe. Almost $75,000 of our daughter's college fund gone. Money we had been saving for 12 years wiped out in a matter of months. I immediately called the bank, hoping desperately that this was some terrible mistake. "I'm seeing that these withdrawals were made in person at your local branch," the customer service representative explained. Each was authorized with proper identification and the account password. Would you like me to send you the verification forms that were signed? When the forms arrived in my email, there was Jackson's signature 3 separate times, authorizing the emptying of our daughter's future. I sat at the kitchen table, physically ill, until I heard his key in the door around 6 that evening. He seemed surprised to see me sitting in the dark. "Amaya, why are you sitting here without the lights on? Where's Lily?" He flipped on the switch, then froze when he saw my face. "She's at her coding club. It goes until 7. My voice sounded strange, detached. "I've been waiting for you to explain something. What's going on?" His briefcase dropped to the floor as I turned my laptop to face him, showing the decimated college account. "You tell me, Jackson, where is our daughter's college money?" His face went through a series of expressions: surprise, guilt, then calculation. "There must be some mistake," he attempted, but his voice lacked conviction. "The only mistake was me trusting you with her future." I showed him the withdrawal forms with his signature. $75,000. Gone. Why? He collapsed into a chair, suddenly looking older than his 40 years. "I can explain. It's complicated. Uncomplicate it. Now." After a long pause, the truth emerged in fragments. Yes, there was another woman. Samantha, his colleague. Yes, he had been seeing her for nearly a year. And yes, he had taken the money. "It was just supposed to be temporary," he insisted, desperation in his eyes. "Investments that would pay off quickly. I was going to replace it with interest." "What investments require draining our daughter's education fund?" I demanded. His answer shattered any remaining illusion I had about our marriage. There were no investments. The money had gone toward luxury gifts for Samantha. Weekend getaways to wine country, a luxury rental car, and most recently a down payment on a condo where they could meet privately. "She has expensive tastes," he admitted, as if that explained everything. "I was going to tell you about us, but then things escalated financially. I knew you'd check the accounts during the divorce. So you decided to steal from our daughter instead." I was beyond anger in a calm, cold place I'd never experienced before. "Money we've been saving since the day she was born. I'll pay it back," he promised, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. "I've got some deals closing next month. Big commissions coming." "Stop lying. Just stop." I stood up, needing distance from him. "You've destroyed everything we built. Not just our marriage, but Lily's trust and her future." The worst part was still to come. At 7:15, Lily walked in, excited about her coding project and ready for our account review. Seeing us both in the kitchen with tense expressions, she immediately sensed something was wrong. "What happened? Is everyone okay?" I looked at Jackson. Tell your daughter what you did with her college fund." He couldn't meet her eyes. "Lily, there's been a temporary setback with your account. The money is currently invested elsewhere." "Stop with the euphemisms," I snapped. "The account is empty because your father took the money to spend on his girlfriend." Lily stood perfectly still, her backpack sliding off her shoulder to the floor. She looked from me to her father, her brilliant mind processing this betrayal. "How much is left?" she finally asked, her voice small. "About $5,000, I answered honestly. She nodded once, twice, then picked up her backpack. "I need some time to process this information." With remarkable composure, she walked upstairs to her room. Jackson tried to follow, but I blocked his path. "Haven't you done enough damage? She's my daughter too. I need to explain." "What exactly will you explain? How you prioritized your affair over her education? How you stole her future to buy jewelry for another woman?" He had no answer. Later that night, I checked on Lily. She had her laptop open, surrounded by notebooks filled with calculations. When she saw me, she quickly closed them. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" I asked, sitting on the edge of her bed. "I will be," she replied, with a determination that surprised me. "We both will be." After I left her room, I stood in the hallway and heard the muffled sound of her crying. It was the first time I'd heard her cry since she was 9 and broke her arm falling from a tree. My heart broke all over again, knowing that this pain couldn't be fixed with a cast and 6 weeks of healing. Some betrayals leave permanent scars. The following days brought a cascade of new crises. Jackson moved out the morning after our confrontation, taking only a suitcase and promising to figure things out. I immediately contacted Diana Levine, a divorce attorney recommended by a client who had gone through a similar situation. Given the circumstances and the clear financial misconduct, we have a strong case for an advantageous settlement, Diana explained during our first meeting, but recovering the already spent money may be challenging. Did you have any documentation of the specific purpose of this account? I provided the account statements, the initial documentation designating it as an educational fund, and all the records of our consistent deposits over 12 years. This helps, Diana said, reviewing the paperwork. But courts sometimes view joint accounts as marital property, even with designated purposes. We'll need to prove his withdrawals were done in bad faith. The legal complexities were overwhelming, but my immediate concern was for Lily. She had become unusually quiet, spending hours in her room with her computer. When the school counselor called to express concern about her withdrawal from social activities, I realized the extent of the damage. Lily has always been one of our most engaged students, Mrs. Thompson explained, but lately she's been declining participation in class discussions and eating lunch alone. When I asked if everything was okay at home, she said she needed to focus on solving a financial problem. That night, I knocked on Lily's door with a mug of her favorite hot chocolate. "Can we talk?" She was sitting cross-legged on her bed, surrounded by printouts of banking regulations and financial articles. "The school called," I said gently. "They're worried about you. So am I." She looked up, her eyes tired but determined. "I'm fine. I'm just researching. Researching what, honey? Solutions." She hesitated, then added, "Dad's not going to replace the money, is he?" Her directness caught me off guard. "He says he will, but we can't count on that," she finished. "That's what I thought." Before I could probe further, my phone chimed with an email notification. It was from our divorce attorney forwarding court documents filed by Jackson. He was claiming I had been financially controlling throughout our marriage and demanding half of our remaining assets, including our house. The audacity was stunning. After stealing our daughter's college fund, he was now trying to take half of what remained. I sank onto Lily's bed, overwhelmed. "What's wrong?" Lily asked, immediately alert to my distress. "Nothing you need to worry about," I tried to assure her, but she wasn't buying it. "Mum, I'm 12, not 5. What happened?" I sighed, deciding honesty was the best approach. "Your father is making some unreasonable demands in the divorce proceedings." She nodded thoughtfully. "He's trying to take more money, isn't he?" "How did you know?" "Probability and pattern recognition," she said matter-of-factly. "His behavior follows a predictable trajectory based on his recent actions." Sometimes I forgot just how perceptive my daughter was. That night, I couldn't sleep, plagued by fears about our financial future. How would I maintain the mortgage payments alone? Could I increase my consulting workload enough to rebuild Lily's college fund? The stress manifested as a blinding migraine that left me nauseated and seeing auras around lights. The next morning, an alert from my bank notified me of multiple failed access attempts to our accounts. Someone had tried to log in repeatedly using incorrect passwords. Given recent events, it wasn't hard to guess who. When I called the bank to report the suspicious activity, they confirmed the attempts had been made from an IP address in the Bahamas. A quick check of Jackson's Instagram showed photos of him and a blonde woman on a beachfront balcony, tagged at an exclusive resort in Nassau, another vacation with our daughter's money. My credit card statement arrived that day, showing a charge from Tiffany & Co. for $15,000, a diamond bracelet that cost nearly 20% of what remained in our joint savings. The purchase had been made the day before Jackson emptied the last portion of Lily's college fund. The pieces all fit together now. The expensive gifts, the secret condo, the luxury vacations, all funded with our daughter's future. Each new discovery was another knife in my heart. By evening, the migraine had intensified to the point where I could barely stand. Lily found me in the bathroom, sitting on the floor with my head against the cool tile. "Mum!" She rushed to get me water and the prescription medication I rarely needed. "You need to rest." As she helped me to bed, she asked hesitantly, "Can we check my college account again? I've been thinking about something." It seemed an odd request given the circumstances, but her serious expression convinced me. "Okay, but there's nothing new to see," I warned, reaching for my laptop. I had no idea how wrong I was about that. The next day, once my migraine had subsided, Lily approached me with an unusual request. "Mum, can we check my college fund account together? There's something I want to show you." Given that the account was nearly empty, I was reluctant to revisit this painful subject. "Honey, I know it's hard to accept, but looking at it again won't change anything." "Please, Mum," she insisted. "I need you to see something." Her earnestness convinced me. We sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop, and I logged into the banking portal, preparing myself for the depressing sight of the depleted balance. When the page loaded, I blinked, certain I was seeing things. The account balance showed $82,500. What? I refreshed the page, thinking it was an error. The same amount appeared. This can't be right. 3 days ago, it was barely $5,000. Lily was watching my reaction with a small, satisfied smile. "It's not a mistake. I don't understand. Did your father replace the money? It seemed impossible given everything else that had happened." "No," she said. "I did." My confusion must have been evident because she began explaining in the methodical way she approached all problems. "After you told me about what Dad did, I was upset, but then I started thinking logically about solutions. I realized that while the money was gone, I could still protect what was left and maybe find a way to recover the rest." She opened her laptop and showed me a series of folders, meticulously organized with dates and labels. "I've been monitoring all our family accounts for the past 3 months, she revealed, "ever since I noticed Dad acting strange and heard you two arguing about money." "How did you even access these accounts?" I asked, astonished. "I've seen you enter the passwords dozens of times during our quarterly reviews. I have an eidetic memory for numbers," she reminded me. "But then I noticed something concerning 3 months ago. Dad changed the password on my college account without telling you." She pulled up a document showing login timestamps and IP addresses. "See these logins at 1:38 a.m. and 2:42 a.m. That's when the first big withdrawal happened. I wrote a simple program to alert me to any account activity, and when I saw the money disappearing, I knew I had to act." My 12-year-old daughter had been quietly monitoring our family's finances, while I remained oblivious to the theft happening under my nose. "After the second withdrawal, I realized Dad would eventually take everything," Lily continued. "So I changed the password and security questions myself." "You changed the password?" I was struggling to keep up. "Yes, to something he'd never guess." She looked slightly guilty. "I also transferred the remaining funds to a new, secure account I created under the same bank but with different credentials." "Is that even legal?" I wondered aloud. "The account is in my name with you as the custodian. I just adjusted the security parameters." She shrugged. "The terms of service have a provision for account holders to update security features." "But where did the rest of the money come from? It shows almost the full original amount." Here Lily's expression became truly triumphant. "Remember when Dad came home late that night and you confronted him about the missing money? I recorded the entire conversation." She played an audio file where Jackson clearly admitted to taking the funds for his girlfriend. His promises to repay it were equally clear, as was his acknowledgement of the account's purpose. I sent this recording to Dad yesterday with copies of all the withdrawal documentation and bank records showing exactly where the money went. I also included a note. She showed me the email she had sent to Jackson. At the bottom, in bold letters, were the words, "Education first." I told him he had 24 hours to return the funds, or I would send everything to your attorney. She said this so matter-of-factly that it took me a moment to process the implications. Lily, I wasn't sure if I should be proud or concerned about this level of involvement. Effective, she finished for me. The money was transferred back this morning. All of it plus an additional $2,500 in interest. I was speechless. My 12-year-old daughter had accomplished in one day what I'd feared would take years of legal battles. There's more, she added, pulling up a spreadsheet. I've documented every transaction Dad made with the money. The gifts, the trips, the condo down payment. It's all here with dates, amounts, and where possible receipts from his email account. His email, Lily, how did you... He uses the same password for everything with minor variations. Not very secure. She shook her head disapprovingly. I also set up a notification system that alerts me if anyone attempts to access any of our accounts. That's how I knew he tried to get back into the college fund 3 times from the Bahamas. The comprehensive nature of her investigation was both impressive and slightly terrifying. My daughter had essentially created a financial surveillance system that professional forensic accountants would envy. When Dad realized he couldn't access the account anymore, he called me directly, she continued. He was really angry at first, saying I had no right to lock him out. My protective instincts flared. He called you to complain about this. It's okay, Mum. I handled it. Her calm was unsettling. I simply told him that stealing from your child's future has consequences, and that I had documented everything. I explained that his options were to replace the money or face both legal and professional repercussions. And he just agreed. It seemed too easy after everything we'd been through. Not at first. He tried to tell me I was too young to understand adult problems. A flash of hurt crossed her face. I told him I was old enough to understand betrayal and theft. Then I emailed him a small sample of the evidence I'd collected while he was still on the phone. I could imagine Jackson's reaction when he realized his 12-year-old daughter had outmaneuvered him. He transferred the money this morning, Lily concluded. I've already moved it to the new secure account where he can't access it. Only you and I have the credentials. Looking at my daughter, I felt a complex mixture of emotions, pride in her intelligence and resourcefulness, sadness that she had been forced to grow up so quickly, and relief that at least this part of our crisis had been resolved. You know, I said carefully, most kids your age are worrying about middle school drama and video games, not financial security and evidence collection. Lily gave me a small smile. I'm not most kids, Mum. You taught me that knowledge is power, especially about money. I just applied what I learned. I taught you about compound interest and budgeting, not cybersecurity and negotiation tactics. Same principles, different application, she replied with a shrug. Besides, you always said education is the best investment. I was just protecting mine. I pulled her into a tight hug, feeling both proud and protective. My brilliant daughter had protected herself when the adults in her life had failed her, but at what emotional cost? I'm sorry you had to deal with this, I whispered into her hair. I'm not, she said firmly. I learned something important about standing up for myself, and I learned it from watching you all these years. With Lily's remarkable intervention, we had recovered the college fund, but our legal battles were just beginning. I forwarded all of Lily's documentation to Diana, who was initially skeptical about how we had obtained some of the evidence. This is incredibly thorough, Diana said, reviewing the files in her office the next day. "But I have to ask how your daughter accessed some of these accounts and emails." I explained Lily's methods as best I understood them, emphasizing that she had only accessed accounts that were legally part of our family finances. Diana nodded thoughtfully. "Normally, I'd have concerns about the admissibility of some of this evidence, but the audio recording of your husband's confession is completely legal in Washington, since it was made in your home where there's no expectation of privacy between family members, and the financial records are all legitimately obtained from accounts you had legal access to." She continued reviewing the documents, occasionally making notes. "This is more detailed than what most forensic accountants provide. Your daughter has a future in financial investigation if she wants it." Based on the strength of our evidence, Diana immediately filed emergency orders to freeze our remaining joint assets. The judge, after reviewing Lily's documentation, ruled in our favor within days. Jackson's reaction was immediate and furious. He called me repeatedly, demanding to know how I had hacked his accounts and threatening legal action for invasion of privacy. "Our 12-year-old daughter did this, not me," I told him during one heated call. "Perhaps instead of threatening us, you should be asking yourself what kind of father steals his child's education fund." Diana arranged a meeting with Jackson and his attorney to discuss settlement terms. I insisted that Lily be allowed to attend part of the meeting with our family therapist present for support. "Are you sure that's wise?" Diana asked. "These meetings can get contentious." "She's already in the middle of this," I pointed out, "and frankly, she understands the financial aspects better than I do. She deserves to see this through." When Jackson arrived at the meeting, he looked haggard and stressed. The confident investment banker was gone, replaced by a man whose poor choices were catching up with him. He nearly fell into his chair when Lily walked in with the therapist. "What is she doing here?" he demanded. "This isn't appropriate." "Your daughter has requested to address you directly," Diana explained. "Given her central role in recovering the funds you misappropriated, we believe it's reasonable." Jackson's attorney, seeing the extensive evidence against his client, advised him to listen. Lily, dressed in a simple blue dress and carrying a folder of documents, sat across from her father with remarkable poise. "Dad," she began, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes, "I've spent a lot of time trying to understand why you would take money that was meant for my future, money that you and Mum saved for 12 years. Jackson couldn't meet her gaze. "Lily, it's complicated. Adult relationships and finances are complex in ways you can't understand yet." "I understand mathematics," she replied. "I understand that compound interest on $80,000 over 6 years equals approximately $30,000 in growth that I've now lost. I understand that trust once broken has no formula for guaranteed restoration." The room fell silent. Even the attorneys seemed moved by her articulate expression of betrayal. "The money you spent on gifts and trips is gone forever," Lily continued. "But it wasn't just money you took. It was security. It was trust. It was my belief that parents put their children's needs before their wants." Jackson's composure cracked. "I made a terrible mistake," he admitted, his voice breaking. "I got caught up in something I couldn't control, and I made choices I deeply regret. I never meant to hurt you." "But you did hurt me," Lily said simply. "Actions have consequences. That's another thing Mum taught me." After Lily's powerful statement, she and the therapist left the room so the adults could discuss settlement terms. Jackson, clearly shaken by his daughter's words, proved surprisingly amenable to our requests. The final agreement included Jackson repaying the full amount he had taken, plus interest selling the condo he had purchased, and adding those proceeds to Lily's college fund as additional compensation and a fair division of our remaining assets that acknowledged his financial misconduct. Just as significant news of Jackson's actions reached his firm. Investment companies take financial ethics seriously, and misappropriating a child's education fund didn't align with their values. He was placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. When Samantha discovered the true source of the lavish lifestyle Jackson had provided, she ended their relationship immediately. According to mutual acquaintances, she was horrified to learn she had been showered with gifts purchased with a child's college fund. Diana advised me that we could pursue criminal charges for financial fraud, but after discussing it with Lily, we decided against it. Despite everything, he was still her father, and we hoped he would eventually make amends in meaningful ways beyond just financial restitution. The legal proceedings concluded much faster than anticipated, largely due to the overwhelming evidence Lily had compiled. What might have been a protracted, bitter divorce battle became a relatively straightforward case of financial misconduct with clear remedies. As we left the final settlement meeting, Lily asked me a question that revealed the emotional toll these events had taken on her. "Mum, do you think Dad ever really loved us, or was that a lie too?" Her question broke my heart. "Your father loves you very much, Lily. He made terrible choices that hurt us both, but that doesn't erase the 12 years of being a good father before this happened." Then why did he do it? Her logical mind was still seeking a rational explanation for an irrational betrayal. "Sometimes adults make mistakes that don't make sense even to them," I answered honestly. "It doesn't excuse what he did, but people are complicated. They can love someone and still hurt them deeply." She thought about this for a moment. "That's an inefficient emotional algorithm." Despite everything, she made me smile. "Yes, it certainly is." 6 months after the day I discovered the emptied college fund, Lily and I were settling into our new normal. We had moved from our large suburban home to a comfortable 3-bedroom townhouse closer to my office. The smaller space and reduced mortgage payment allowed me to increase our monthly contributions to rebuilding Lily's college fund beyond what Jackson was required to pay. My financial consulting business had grown significantly, partly because I had begun specializing in helping women secure their children's educational futures through divorce and family transitions. My personal experience had given me insights that clients found particularly valuable. "You understand in a way other advisors don't," one client told me after I helped her establish protected educational accounts for her children. "You're not just giving financial advice, you're providing a roadmap for emotional security." Lily had flourished despite the upheaval in our lives. She joined her school's competitive math team and a coding club that developed apps for educational use. Her experience had inspired an interest in financial systems and security that her teachers found remarkable for someone her age. One evening, as we were reviewing her college fund's recovery progress together, Lily made an unexpected announcement. "I'm developing a financial literacy curriculum for kids," she said, showing me a presentation on her laptop. "It teaches basic concepts about saving and budgeting, but also includes sections on protecting your financial future and recognizing warning signs of financial misconduct." The sophistication of her program was impressive, combining engaging activities for younger children with more complex concepts for teenagers. "This is incredible, Lily. How did you come up with all this? From what you taught me, plus what I learned during our family crisis." She spoke matter-of-factly about our ordeal now. "Most kids don't learn about money until they're adults making mistakes. I want to change that." Her middle school principal was so impressed with the curriculum that he approved it as an after-school workshop. Lily, with my supervision, taught 20 students twice a week about financial empowerment and responsibility. Jackson, meanwhile, was making efforts to rebuild his relationship with Lily. He had found a new position at a smaller firm after being let go from his previous company. The salary was lower, but as he told Lily during one of their weekend visits, it's a chance to rebuild with integrity. He faithfully made the monthly restitution payments required by our settlement, sometimes adding extra when he could. He never missed a scheduled visit with Lily, though their relationship remained understandably strained. My own healing journey had been complicated. Trust didn't come easily anymore, and I had thrown myself into work as a way of maintaining control over my life. My therapist gently suggested that while financial security was important, emotional connections were equally valuable. You've built strong walls to protect yourself and Lily, she observed during one session. That was necessary during the crisis, but walls that keep pain out also keep joy from getting in. Her words resonated with me. I had been so focused on ensuring Lily's financial future that I hadn't given much thought to my own emotional future. Slowly, I began rebuilding connections with friends and family who had supported us through the worst times. My sister Natalie convinced me to join a hiking group where I met other single parents navigating similar challenges. For the first time in months, I found myself laughing freely and sharing stories unrelated to financial planning or divorce proceedings. Lily noticed the change in me. "You seem happier, Mum," she remarked one evening as we prepared dinner together. "Your smile reaches your eyes again." "I am happier," I realized. "We've come through something difficult, but we're still standing." "More than standing," she corrected. "We're thriving. My college fund is growing faster than before because now we both understand its true value." She was right. Between Jackson's repayments, my increased contributions, and some savvy investment choices Lily had researched herself, the fund was on track to exceed our original goals. As summer approached, Lily surprised me by asking if we could visit some college campuses, even though she was only 13 now. "Isn't it a bit early for college tours?" I asked. "It's never too early to set concrete goals," she replied, with the practicality that had become her trademark. "Besides, seeing actual universities will remind us what we're working toward." So we planned a summer road trip to visit 5 universities on the West Coast. During our tour of Stanford, Lily confided that she was considering a double major in computer science and financial forensics. "I want to build systems that protect people's financial futures," she explained. "What happened to us happens to families every day, but most don't have the skills to recover like we did." I marveled at how my daughter had transformed a painful experience into a passionate purpose. While I would never have chosen this path for her, I couldn't help but admire the strength and clarity it had fostered in her. On our last night of the college tour, sitting in a hotel room overlooking the Seattle skyline, where our journey had begun, I asked Lily what she considered the most important lesson from everything we'd experienced. "That's easy," she said without hesitation. "I learned that education isn't just about what happens in classrooms or what you can buy with a degree. It's about learning to protect what matters, stand up for yourself, and use knowledge to create security." "That's profound for someone who hasn't even started high school," I observed. "I had a good teacher," she smiled, leaning against my shoulder. "And now we're both students and teachers, aren't we?" She was right. Through this ordeal, I had taught Lily about financial responsibility, but she had taught me about resilience, forgiveness, and the remarkable capacity of the human spirit to find opportunity in adversity. As we watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of promise, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel again so soon after our world had shattered hope. Not just for Lily's educational future, but for both of us and the wisdom we would continue to build together. I hope this story has resonated with some of you who may have faced betrayal or financial challenges in your own families. Have you ever had to teach your children difficult life lessons earlier than you expected? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you found value in our journey, please like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who might need to hear that even after betrayal, recovery is possible. Thank you for listening, and remember to always put education first, whatever form that education may take in your life.